Hey everyone. So I wanted to bring another deck profile today. Yesterday I brought Danger Dark Worlds to locals and I went undefeated with them. The last round I did play Edison. I played Welladad um, with our head judge at the final round of the locals event. But otherwise I played pure dark not pure, I played purely Danger Dark World for the rest of the day. My list is a little different than most other people. I'm playing some cards that people aren't, and I'm also uh playing, I don't know, definitely different ratios to say the least. So the first thing obviously you see there is I'm playing two brow. Some lists aren't even playing this. The core essence of Dark World is that you want to be drawing as much as possible. Brow, especially if you combine it with the fact that we run two Ceruli and you discard those off of Ceruli, it allows you to not just draw one, but it's a pot of greed to draw two. The other good thing about it is it's a normal summonable monster, and that is vital to the core of this deck because you run a lot of monsters, two kinds, which are three ofs in particular that you see on the list here, Grapha and the new Rainbow, who have to summon themselves from the graveyard by returning other Dark World monsters to your hand. The fact that Brow gives you that opportunity by normal summoning it, and if they don't respond to the normal summon, which they typically won't because it's fucking Brow, they're not going to respond to normal summon Brow, then as a summoning condition, you bounce it back to your hand and you summon out Rainbow, bounce that back, summon out Grapha, or just one or the other, depending on the situation that you're in. So Brow, it's a really great card. It's either an upstart or a pot of greed. It's a normal summonable monster, which can actually give you access to your combo line, which is vital for this deck. So when people have deck lists and they aren't playing at least beige or brow, I immediately don't think it is a good list in general. I would not recommend following those lists. Um, I have been playing this deck since their original structure deck release. Um, and I have all of the, original cards on me now, actually, as a matter of fact. Because I'm a hoarder for cards, so I have like the original, I don't know if that's picking up, but the original like ultra rares and super rares from the structure deck. So I've been playing this deck for a while. And I can tell you right now, if you're not playing at least, and not just Ceruli, right? Ceruli is a different story because that comes up for a completely different situation other than normal summoning. This brow situation is because you need something that not only gives you draw power, but also gives you the opportunity to extend your combo. So not only is it a normal summonable monster, not only is it a draw two, but it's also a combo extender, which is why I have it at 2 of the deck. And then the next one is Ceruli. Now this can serve the same function as normal summoning it, bouncing it, but it's really not that great of a combo extender because if you do discard this by any means, it is mandatory that it is summoned to your opponent's side of the field and mandatory that you discard one. So depending on your hand, this could actually be a detriment. The reason I played it too is because I'm running a very high ratio of Grapha Rainbow. I'm running 3 of each and I'm running Parl and Brow. So with my deck list, it doesn't come up, and at least it didn't come up in testing or at locals, that this was actually an impediment. It's actually always proved to be a success for me when I discarded cards from my hand that functioned as draws, as extenders, as searchers, etc. So I run it at 2, obviously for the extended purpose of being able to do the hand loop for 4 cards. Which, keep in mind, some people don't understand Silva. Silva's effect, which is also at 2 in this deck, the text reads your opponent places exactly 2. So you cannot hand loop them for 5. Once you have hand looped them 2 times, there are plenty of opportunities where, especially in my deck list, that you can hand loop them for more, but it doesn't come up because you cannot legally activate that effect to hand loop them for 2 more because they only have 1 card left in hand. So you have to remind yourself about that because that's a giant misplay that I saw some people doing online and on testing. So yeah, we do have 2 Brow, 2 Ceruli, 2 Silva. So that's it for the 2 of the deck. Silva's just, pardon me, Silva's just the best extender in the deck. Discard it, special summon, bounce it back for Grapha, bounce it back for Rainbow, whichever, or Rainbow then Grapha, discard again, special summon, then, you know, go for Grapha, link those two, summon Silva, bounce, bounce, summon, bounce, bounce. It's an infinite loop, basically. It's a fantastic card. Came up all day. And also the reason that I'm running high ratios, because I've seen some people running 2 or 3, or just 1, or 1 1 1 2 2 2. The reason you want to run 2 or more of every Dark World is because in this format right now, Bestials are a problem. So if they banish one from your graveyard, you want to make sure you have at least another one to keep extending. Now obviously there is the off chance that they might have 2 Bestials, which did come up for me. They banished Agrafa and they banished the Genta from graveyard, which was their mistake because they did not read Genta. So they banished Silva, which ruined my combo there. And then they chained and banished, or not chained, it was a separate chain where I attempted to use gates to banish Genta. They banished Genta themselves. So without them realizing it, they gave me that extender anyway, and I bounced it back to hand. I bounced the Genta back to hand in order to summon Rainbow, and then Rainbow back to hand for Grapha. So unwittingly, they gave me the game, but that's why you want to run multiple copies. And speaking of multiple copies, we are running 3 Genta. I think this is mandatory in builds now. You know, I just don't see any builds playing less than 3. This is where it gets a little iffy. I am playing 3 Grapha. So my testing and theory behind this was people are running Bestials at 9. So 3 3 3, right? 3 Saronir, 3 Saronir, 3 Jerusalem, 3 Magnamut. So you want to bait those out as much as possible. And Grapha is prime bait, right? They don't really worry about Rainbow because I don't really think they understand the function of Rainbow. But Grapha is an immediate threat, right? Because it gives you that combo extension. It gives you a level 8. It gives you link material. And if it's discarded, whether you're going first or second, it's a mandatory to pop one. So it starts helping clearing your opponent's field before you start really popping off. So that's why I run it at 3. Because not only is it an amazing extension, but it gives you functionality across the board. And it's the same way with Rainbow. This card is phenomenal. And in many ways, I think this card is actually better than any other Dark World card printed currently. It is an extender. It's a searcher. And if you do the combo with Ceruli, it's a free special summon. And then you can link 2 monsters off, bounce that special summon monster, summon back Rainbow. This card is fantastic. It's gigantic. It's a 30 with the field spell. It's a 3300 beat stick that you can just clobber into anything. It's a fantastic card. So I'm running them at 3, and then obviously 3 Snow. This is mandatory, and where my build hard differs from others is I'm running this Parl, Hermit of Dark World. Every game I had, every game, this card saved me. I was able to discard this, target a monster in my graveyard, and special summon it, right? Because I already had things like Graph and Rainbow in the graveyard. So if I was able to discard this, I would use its effect to then special summon something that I needed for extension, right? So it could have been Genta in order to search for gates. It could have been Silva to search for a Dark World card, or it could have been Silva to start my loop going again, you know, to infinitely special. This came up every game, and it was a masterclass of its own, and I will permanently be running this at 1. I really do think this card is so much better than people give it credit for. And I think that even then, maybe I'll even run it at 2. 3 would definitely be too bricky, but this card came up in every duel, whether I was going first or second, whether I was setting up to defend myself or going in for an OTK push. This card is phenomenal. You know, you can revive Grapha, which is a 3k body, or Rainbow, bounce Rainbow, go to Grapha, discard Rainbow, add Silva, discard Silva, special, bounce back for Rainbow. 6k damage on board there, 6300. Like it's an insane card. So that's it for the Dark Worlds. And then the honorary Dark World, which is Salamander Catalyzer. So this card obviously came in clutch. You don't run it at any more than 1 though, because 3 is way too bricky. It does have an amazing second effect, which did come up, where if you have a monster destroyed by battle involving a fiend monster while it's in the graveyard, add it back to your hand. So that gives you extension on the crackback for turn 3 if they start blowing up your board. So this is an amazing card. It's amazing extender too, because it's a level 4, so that gives you access to your rank 4, which is Dugares the Timeless, for draw 2, discard 1. And you run plenty of level 4s. You run the Genty, you run the Snow, so if you need to normal summon them as a normal summon, then you have that chance to do that in order to get into Dugares. So amazing card. It's permanently at 1 of this deck. And then we have the Danger Engine, which I'm sure you guys have seen already. So 2 Bigfoot, 2 Chupacabra, 1 Mothman, 2 Nessie, 1 Ogopogo, Thunderbird, Jackalope, Tsuchinoko. If anyone tells you that playing different ratios is right, they're wrong. You don't play 3 Bigfoot. You don't play 3 Nessie. You don't play 2 of anything else. This danger package is the perfect size and quantity of each individual card. I despise lists that have Nessie at 3, that have Bigfoot at 3, Chup at 3, Mothman at 2. Those are useless. You want to keep that minimal but functional, and that is the point of dangers, is the minimality of it, but the functionality is there. Keep the ratio the way it is. It's fantastic. It worked every duel. Even then, I won't lie, I had a opening hand where it was 1 Dark World, which I think was Grapha, and then 4 Bigfoots, or not Bigfoots, 4 dangers, including Bigfoot, Chupacabra, 1 Nessie, and 1 Snake, Tsuchinoko. And they got me there. Even though I was starting to lose advantage off of them just pinging out the other danger cards, you know, the draws is what kept me going. So it actually worked in my favor. Even though I was really nervous at that point that I was going to lose, because, you know, handful of dangers, what are you going to do? Having the extension from them to just keep drawing really worked out. So I think this is the perfect ratio. I think any other ratio is wrong. My camera just came unfocused. There we go. I think any other ratio is wrong. For the spells, again, this is a little bit different. I am running 1 card destruction. This card came up in 2 separate duels, and it won me both duels flat out. I mean, clapped them. I had a handful of Dark Worlds that I couldn't even play. Drew for turn, card destruction, activate it, chain link 1, 2, 3, 4. I know it was a 4 chain link, resolved it all. And it cleaned the board, won it all. And because these are mandatory, they don't miss timing. So you can chain block your pops or your special summons or your searches, and they just can't do anything. It's really funny. So, I mean, they can bestial them out of the grave, but their effects are still going to resolve. So card destruction, I'll always play at 1, and I would love to argue with anyone who thinks this card shouldn't be in here. Every single card you see on the screen right now, every single card except for Gates, has an effect in the graveyard. Special summoning, popping, sending, searching, drawing, special summoning, popping, even all the dangers, all of the Dark World cards have functionality off of card destruction. 2 accession, people are playing this at 1. That is incorrect. This card has 2 effects that people are unaware of. The first effect is diffusion summon, and you always want to be able to fusion summon from hand by sending Grapha plus 1 other card. So if you open Grapha Dark Monster plus accession, just activate it right away. If you have to wait, it's iffy, but I would rather activate it right away. Just have Grapha Engrave, a negate on board for like Gamma, Nib, Valor, Ash, whatever. And then since Graph is Engrave, it's a summoning condition to summon itself back out, so they can't negate it unless they bestial it right away. Or DD Crow, that's another option. You summon a monster, bounce it back, summon Grapha, and try to get into another, you know, just keep going with your combos. So 2 of those for the fusion. And then the other part that people forget about is this in the second part of the text. During the main phase, if this card in your graveyard, add this card back to your hand, then discard 1 Dark World monster. So this is what the setup is for the 2 Grapha, one on your turn to protect your plays, and another one if you need to go into it, like if they wipe your board with like evenly matched, then go into it on your opponent's turn, because you can banish materials from graveyard too. So two of those. I want to see this card as much as possible, and it's also searchable off of Snow. So you're basically running 5 copies of this. One Archives. I'm highly considering bumping this to 2. I saw this in every game, whether it was searching it or off of the plus 5 billion draws I had. But the ability to discard 2 cards, proc effects, draw 2 more cards, proc more effects. This card was so fantastic. I think this is one of the most undervalued and underrated cards, right next to Parl. And these came out in the same structure deck. I think people are really undervaluing these cards here, and they're straight up what won me most matches. I mean, Dark World Archives alone was able to get me out of a really bricky hand where I draw 2, discard Silva, and I was able to fully combo right from there. So Dark World Archives was amazing. 1 Puppetry. Some people aren't even playing this, so this card is fantastic, because if they bestial you, second effect, banish this card, target a fiend that's banished, add it to your hand. It's fantastic. You can only activate 1 per turn, which is why I run it at 1, because it is searchable. So with every card you see here, +3 to it because of Snow, because it searches for any Dark World card. And this is really good for obviously tier elements. It's decent for really any rogue matchup. It's good for branded as well in a lot of situations. It's just a really good card. I really like this card. 3 Gates of Dark World, I think that's mandatory. And then the one that no one else is playing that I'm 100% going to still be playing is Dark World Punishment. It's a Solemn Warning, and then you discard a fiend. So let's say they have 2 monsters on board, like, you know, Sprite Blue, sure, special summon Sprite Jet. Okay, Dark World Punishment, the special, discard, you know, maybe Grapha, Silva, Rainbow, Snow, Ceruli, or Brow, whatever you have in your hand, discard it, then use their effect to pop one, to draw, to search, to special summon and discard one of your cards, maybe rip 2 cards out of their hand, to special summon a free body. There's a lot of application with Dark World Punishment, and even then, if they blow up your fusion and you have Parl in hand and you Dark World Punishment, discard Parl, you can just summon this back. It doesn't say you must be fusion summoned. It's just as long as it's fusion summoned in the first place. Parl, target this card, summon it back. Now you have another negate on board. So there's also the second effect, which is a Balinx effect. If it would be destroyed by I think it's battle or card effect. Battle or card effect, you can banish this card from a graveyard. So it also goes into play with Puppetry, where you can target a banished fiend, add it to your hand. This banishes itself, so you can't add this back, but at least it's searchable. And if you really need to, like, let's say they're gonna, I don't know, target this in the graveyard to get rid of the protection, you might be able to use Puppetry at that point. Maybe just banish it yourself, so maybe the effect won't resolve, banish 2 more out of the graveyard. Next turn, you can target one of your fiends that you might have banished, add it to your hand. So these 2 cards here are really good. Again, came in the structure deck. I think, in my opinion, I think they're mandatory one-ofs in the new deck. Dark World Punishment just gives it that extra push that you need to really cement the fact that, you know, your opponent's not going to be playing the game. And again, it's searchable, so you're running this at 4. And in each one of my duels, I think except one for like 1 whole match, but the other 2 that I was able to search this out, I absolutely was able to search it, whether off drawing or searching off Snow, set pass, and I never got the chance to use it just because the board that I had was so oppressive enough that there wasn't anything they could do to come back from it, whether it was going first or second. But it was the fact that I had this as an extra layer of protection with 6 cards in hand, and I remember most of the time I ended up having a graph in hand. So is that negate plus a pop, that constant threat, and they knew of it, you know, because whether if I searched it out, they knew of it. The constant threat of the negate plus pop was too much. Side deck, it's nothing special. 3 lightning, 3 evenly, 3 deck dev if I'm going into game 3 going first or game 2 going first. Dark Ruler and Twin. Twin is really good because you can pitch your Rainbow or your Grapha. It doesn't get its effects, but it's the fact that if you have a normal summon, You can normal summon it, clear the back row, right? So you clear the back row, normal summon, bounce that normal, and immediately get a body on board for free. So I don't even count this as a neg one, because if you're sending one of your big level 8s, you, or even the dangerous, because they actually do proc, because if it's discarded, because this is just discard one card. So the Dark Worlds don't get their effects because that would be discard for cost, but all the Dark Worlds do. So this has a lot of application with the with the big Dark World monsters being engraved to summon them back out, and also with all the dangers to be able to pop, to draw, to summon, to search, to pop another back row, send another danger, etc. So amazing card in this deck. I think people are really overlooking that. So the only three that I really went into, the only three that I did go into were Lightning Storm and Evenly. What I sided out was the Puppetry, Punishment. I sided out Parl. I sided out one Grapha. Sometimes I would just do the 2 Ceruli, or it'd be 1 Ceruli, 1 Rainbow. So that's your 6 targets for whatever 6 you're siding in. You shouldn't really need to side in more than 6 cards in this deck, just because it has so much going second potential anyway, and all of the dangers, if they're negated, you just activate them again because they're not once per turn to summon draw. So if you're, going up against a big wombo combo board where they end on 5 more billion negates, then Dark Ruler and back row, Twin Twister. If you're playing against Sprite, then you do deck dev, Twin Twisters, in my opinion. For general application, I just sided in these 6. So I mean, it's lightning evenly. I'm not really worried about skipping my battle phase because I can just combo off into an unbreakable board, have them pass on nothing. Maybe they're top decking, pass OTK. Side or extra deck, double fusions, 1 Coach King. This is standard. 1 Dingirsu. This is an amazing card because it doesn't target. So they have something like Avermax on board. You can just send it. Yeah, shuffles Dingirsu back, but it's the fact that you're clearing off these gigantic threats. And even if they have IP and Sprite Elf on board, if you summon this, activate the effect, they have to activate IP there, or they just lose the ability to go into any Link monster. So they're going to do it anyway if you're a bad player, but if you're a good player, you'll just let Dingirsu send a card so you don't lose your Elf as well. So you have that. I do run the Galaxy Eyes package. This is for going into OTKs. Didn't come up, but these two did, where I overlaid, overlay, pop, and then kept going, OTK, etc. I think it's a good package. I can see why people don't play it. I really do understand if you don't want to play this package. I just like the potential of overlaying into an 8 and having either the attack potential, or you can overlay again, pop, detach a card, right? So detach Grapha, pop a card, overlay, detach another 8, maybe another Grapha or a Rainbow, pop a card, and then you have your 2 Dark Worlds in graveyard. So if you get another Dark World monster out, you bounce it, Rainbow, bounce, Grapha. So I really like the potential of popping 2 and then still continuing with your combo. And at that point, like, you can run Zeus in this deck. I just don't recommend it. I don't really think Zeus is all that necessary. 1 Hope Harbinger. This is what I end on if I know I'm playing against a spell heavy deck. If I'm playing on a monster heavy deck, then I go to Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord as one of my 2. Typically, you end on one of these at the end of your extended long combo for going first. Usually it's the Fusion, Apo, plus one of these guys, or IP, Muckraker. Dugress. It's Dugress. I mean, I don't, it's not much to explain. You draw 2, discard 1, proc all your effects. Akashic, this is unfortunately mandatory 1 of. I don't like this card. It doesn't do all that much except for bouncing the cards, but it is really good for the hand loop if you see it. And trust me, you don't see it every game. It's actually really difficult to manage to get to the hand loop without really going out of your way and sacrificing all of your defensive capability for it. So Akashic, if you do open Ceruli, this is what I would recommend, is the hand loop, but only if you end up opening Ceruli. If you don't open Ceruli right away, wait through your combo to see if you can do it. If you can't, just don't do it. Apollosa, it's Apollosa. It's typically either 2 or 4, right? So 2 off of the IP, or 4 if you have a lot of monsters on board to clear. You link them off, point it right under Muckraker, and then keep going with your combo. IP, which is to go into Mech Knight, Avermax, or Apollosa. And finally, Muckracker from the Underworld. This card, it's the best extra deck monster right now for this deck. It just does so much. It has protection, so you can tribute fiends to protect from battle or card effects. Then you can target a fiend in grave, discard one card, special summon it. So that's a really good effect because you get to proc whatever effect you discard in hand. And if you have Graph in grave and you target a different Dark World like Genta, Snow, Silva, Parl, Ceruli, Brow, you can bounce that back to your hand to summon Grapha, and they have that extension in hand plus extension on board. You have the Link 2, go into another Link 2, which is IP, then you have the open opportunity to go on your opponent's turn into Avermax or Apollosa. So overall, yeah, this is a really good deck for now. I honestly do think it's a tier 1 deck that people are really overlooking. I think once Tearlaments eventually gets neutered, I think people are going to flood. Oh, that's okay. I think people are going to flood to this deck for the main fact that I didn't even know that could happen. I think people are going to flood to the deck once Tearlaments is hit for the main fact that, you know, you can't really beat this deck. Can't believe it did that. There it is. Yeah, I think people are going to flood to this once Tearlaments is hit. I think it's going to be the next best dark-based deck. Obviously, it is very susceptible to going second cards. So Dark Ruler plus Evenly or Lightning Storm, or Dark Ruler plus Super Poly or just Super Poly. It's really good when people do that. It didn't happen to me today just because they didn't get the chance to, but it is really susceptible to going second cards. But luckily, if you're going first, you set up like 5 fucking negates plus a bunch of other stuff, so it's not bad. So overall, I would recommend this deck. But, you know, take it, use it. If you find success with it, God bless. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the profile. Thank you.